The first week of 2024 is coming to an end, and I thought now is probably the best and only time to talk about this topic, that being the most disappointing games of 2023. Now quickly, I want to specify, when I say the most disappointing games of 2023, I'm not necessarily saying that any of these games were bad. What I'm saying is that me personally, I was disappointed in the direction these games went to, especially because each game on this list I genuinely enjoy once upon a time. So without further ado, you guys do me a huge favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get straight into it. The first game we're going to be talking about is Voxel Blade. Now Voxel Blade honestly broke my heart, because when I was first introduced to Voxel Blade, I had no idea what it was, and I didn't even want to play it at first. However, I gave in to my viewers actually spamming play Voxel Blade, and I did it. And within the first hour, I fell in love with the game. It became an unhealthy topic for me because I was doing 12, 17, 20-hour streams of me just straight grinding Voxel Blade, making multiple slots, and genuinely just enjoying the progression. Not to mention, at a certain point, I was just spam buying moon rotation. I absolutely was addicted to this game. However, unfortunately, for some reason, Roblox developers just struggle with making content updates for game, and you can only play the same game so often with no content expansions or updates in order to give some new refreshing content to the game. And after playing this game almost every day for hours on end, I had almost experienced everything the game had to offer. There was no content. The game took you from level 1 to level 30, and after doing that, you could experience a bit of other stuff, make new builds, change up your builds. There was so many build variations. The game's replayability was quite high. However, without actually updating the game, I simply just ended up getting bored. There's only so many new builds one person can make, replaying the same content before they get tired. Unfortunately, when the new update did finally come for Voxel Blade, it was a little bit too little too late, and I kind of mean too little and too late. The content expansion was almost useless. It took almost 3 to 4 months to produce less than 5 hours worth of content for the game, and unfortunately, it doesn't matter how much I like a game, if you're not going to treat the game like a actual game and put all your effort into it, I am not going to sit around and support nonsense. Voxel Blade was one of my many heartbreaks of 2023, and I just couldn't go on playing it after that. Next on the list, we have Arcane Odyssey. Now Arcane Odyssey is probably one of the most well-made games on the Roblox platform, if I'm being quite honest, at least right now. And it has quite a similar story to Voxel Blade. When it initially came out, or even before it came out, I was really excited. The gameplay mechanics that I had seen from trailers, snippets, and showcases, the ship customization and combat was something we haven't seen on the Roblox platform, and we still haven't seen it because there are no games currently out right now that even has this much in-depth ship customization along with the combat system and mechanics that ships have in Arcane Odyssey. But when Arcane finally came out, we were playing it quite a lot. Again, similar to Voxel Blade, played through the story, made different builds, and eventually you ran out of things to do. There was no more content that you could do outside of making multiple builds to see how different play styles or build styles play in the game. And I'm not gonna lie, Arcane Odyssey didn't really have a strong PvP scene because the combat was kind of distasteful to a lot of people. Unfortunately, the game didn't receive significant content update. When we finally did get the first update, which would be the viewing update, I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't even consider that an update. That's like a 0.1 update. It's like adding something so minuscule to the game, and it was just no reason to actually play it. I went back in to play the viewing update, and I was like, oh, okay. And that update came with an Easter egg hunt update and underwater caverns, and it just wasn't fun. It wasn't worth it. There was no actual new loot introduced to the game with it, so going underneath the water caverns to collect treasure chests was almost pointless because the only thing new you could get was a harpoon for your ship to kill sharks with. Again, again, the update was genuinely terrible. And even with the recent Dark Sea update, unfortunately, the game's storyline, which is what engaged almost 70% of the player base, did not expand with it. So it was kind of a bleak playthrough, and it wasn't really worth going back in to play, in my opinion at least. However, there is currently a roadmap for Arcane Odyssey, and the next couple of updates we're getting story expansions along with a lot of new gameplay stuff. So that is nice to look forward to. However, Arcane Odyssey did break my heart in the same way Voxel Blade did, in making us wait months for updates that weren't even worth playing. Everyone's excuse is that VTech is a solo developer, but in my opinion, he is actually able to afford maybe a small dev team or just hire people to help him with the game to get content out at a fast rate, in my opinion. And last but not least, we have Type Soul. Now, similar to Voxel Blade, or maybe even on a higher scale, Type Soul unexpectedly filled a void that I didn't even know I had. To me, Type Soul was the best game in terms of PvP on the Roblox platform that I have experienced. Yes, Deep Woken's PvP is good and in-depth and interesting. However, Deep Woken's PvP is not fun at the moment. However, on the other hand, Type Soul's combat was addictive, fun, engaging, and actually interesting. It was enjoyable to say the least. Now, unfortunately, Type Soul, the only thing Type Soul had going for itself was the PvP. However, there were so many different things you could do in Type Soul to the point it was actually interesting. Fighting other players was actually addictive, and being new to the game, realizing you could get visored, true visored, and all these different forms, obtaining them was a grind fest, but it was kind of interesting. Finally beating your Shikai for the first time, and then finally experiencing a Bankai fight. Some of the Bankai fights were impossible and took people over 300 tries. However, it only took me 99 tries on my first attempt at Bankai. As frustrating as it was enjoyable. Finally obtaining your Bankai, your Visored, whatever your form may have been, was an achievement. Being able to run around fighting people with it for the first time was an achievement. The first month of Type Soul was genuinely entertaining. I'm talking about not sleeping for 24 hours, doing 17-hour streams back to back to back on the game, and not because I was doing it for content. I was doing it because I enjoyed playing the game. Where Type Soul fell off was in a multitude of different things. The grinding was too grindy, like it genuinely, the developers treated it like a CC game. The developers in the same context treating it like a CC game allowed the CC players to have specs and to keep all the overpowered stuff they had beforehand and just come into the game and ruin the experience for everybody. The developers also not caring and scamming essentially the whole player base. The rates of rare things were lied to us, everything in the game being overpriced, and the rates still being manipulated so people would be intended or inclined to spend more money. Every time the game updated was literally just an incentive for players to spend more money, which we did, but still there was never any actually significant content expansions, things that made playing the game more enjoyable. It's as if the developers didn't know how to actually update a game to provide actual content for the game. After the player base expressing what they would like to see the game have in terms of updates in the future of the game, the developers just kept producing trash. When we finally got Clan Wars, it was a buggy mess that took them weeks to fix. Weeks, months, whatever the case may be. The game actually deserved to die. As enjoyable as Type Soul was at a certain point of time, it doesn't matter how much fun you have with a game. If the developers are going to choose to neglect, the game deserves to get thrown off the platform in the nicest way possible. Yes, you can argue the developers made money, but if Type Soul was handled properly by the right development team, it would probably still have a lot of players. And I'm not joking, the game is actually good. Yesterday I had quite a short stream on YouTube, and during that stream we decided to hop on Type Soul just for the sake of it. And I'm not going to lie to you, I had fun. I had fun playing Type Soul. The game had 50 players. Upon us joining Type Soul, literally the game went from 50 players to about 80 players in the span of 5 minutes. And I even ended up getting jumped by people. I don't know who they were, but they jumped. And I don't know why. Getting jumped was hilarious. I enjoyed it because I forgot how fun Type Soul actually was. Being scared to trade because everybody's trying to kill people for their rare items and just things of that nature is stuff we actually took for granted. Now again, I might be alone in this statement, but Type Soul's combat, the feeling the game had, I find more enjoyable than current Deep Woken. Not Deep Woken as a whole, but current. Deep Woken right now, in my opinion, is honestly a boring snooze fest, especially in the PvP scene. You can argue with somebody who cares. I'm just telling you how I feel. It's quite unfortunate Type Soul is gone, but it needed to be gone because the developers don't know what they're doing. I think they're just probably money hungry at this. It is what it is. And honestly, that's it. I'm not gonna lie, it felt good making this video, mainly because I didn't make a script for it. I just freestyled it in my head. Past like 50 to 100 videos have all been scripted where I've sat down and actually wrote down what I was gonna say. So to make a video where I got to freestyle again genuinely felt good. Again, Voxel Blade, Arcane Odyssey, and Type Soul, once upon a time, I'm not gonna lie to you, I loved these games. Their releases were actually super enjoyable, and for the first month or so of the games, all 3 of the games releases was amazing, addictive. People were actually playing it. And this, you can't say Agz, you're alone in this, because Infinasu, Sage4, even Sage Z, that genuinely hates PvP games on the Roblox platform, was engaged in Type Soul. If that doesn't tell you Type Soul was actually fun, I don't know what will. If you guys know Sage Z, you know he hates and doesn't care for PvP on this platform at all. So if you're able to make people who don't even care about PvP games enjoy a PvP game, your game was good. Type Soul was good. I'm not gonna lie to you, and it's just so unfortunate that the developers are incompetent idiots that just didn't know what to do with the cash cow that they had in their hand. Type Soul could easily still be on the platform with a lot of players. Again, the game needed to die, it deserved to die, so it is what it is. 2024, we're on to bigger and better things. We have a lot of good games on the way, and hopefully we'll be able to enjoy them with no scam situations going on and corrupt development teams plotting behind the scenes. We have some big developers making some big games. We have small developers making games that are pretty big, and hopefully this is what everyone calls the golden era, because these games are all looking fabulous. I can't wait to see what the future of the Roblox platform has in store for us, because we're only going up from here if these game fam N-words don't ruin everything. Honestly, can we find a way to just completely take down their business? I hate you guys. I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. Peace.